Back on the Boulevard Thursday, March 26th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We're presented by the Blvd Network tonight alongside the St. Louis scumbag TPG. I'm Matty Fresh. Welcome to the Repole Rebrand. It's time to lace them up, time to punch the clock, and play some football, TPG.
The longest offseason in sports is finally over, Matt. But I got to ask you right off the top, because I know you're pushing 30. How have you been recovering from this March Madness bender you went on last weekend?
We're not going to talk about that because we're going to get it all back and more with the UFL that has the softest lines where you bet on March Madness and everything's so sharp. We got soft lines again. We can finally beat the books again. But yes, TPG, thank you for throwing that in my face. I also had to recover from my Packers losing to your Bears. We had a great time in Chicago. Well, you at least had a great time in Chicago. I was
the best
down in the
time.
dumps, but you had to get your get back. Now we're back with the important football league, the UFL, and we talk about the Repole rebrand right off the top. Mike from Queens. What more can you want, right? He's getting a ton of praise for this little rebrand he's doing. I think it's well-deserved. I think he kind of brought common sense back to spring football, right? They got Barstool back on board. That, to me, is a perfect marriage for spring football. And the way I like to think about it, spring football, it wasn't going away without Mike Repole, but it sure as hell is here to stay with Mike Repole.
Yeah, I mean, I think the addition of Mike's been great. Obviously, some of the things he said, his vision, I don't agree with personally, but, there's a plan, there's a vision. I love his transparency. I love how he interacts with the fans on Twitter. I mean, he seems like that Vince McMahon type figure that we've desperately needed since XFL 2020.
Yeah, and with new faces come new places. Columbus, Louisville, and Orlando. TPG, one time a guy stopped me at a gas station, and he asked me for directions to Columbus, Ohio. And I told him, buddy, I know we're all going to hell someday, but what's your rush? And
never been. This might be the first time I ever get to Columbus this year, but I wouldn't want to be there either.
I did hear they were offering free parking at the Aviators home opener. And that's incredible stuff. And that was including free handicap parking. The only thing they ask is that you keep your Ohio State degree displayed clearly on the dash if you want to park there.
Hey, it's not comparative to Louisville. They're charging $75 to park your car, so you can't diss the free parking, even though they're Buckeyes. Even though this is an anti-Buckeye show, you can't diss the free parking. We'll get into that later.
The Columbus Aviators. We will get into that.
Oh, he's going later. Off right away.
We're
no mercy off the top. Hey, am I off the hook now?
I might hate Columbus more than St. Louis, believe it or not.
How?
I'll get into that later. But on tonight's show, we're going to try not to do what maybe every other outlet did this week, which was regurgitate all the offseason headlines and changes and information. What we want to do is analyze that stuff, right, and give you our takes. And like we always have, hopefully make you laugh along the way. Yes, that info is important. You can literally find it anywhere, though. And if you're here with us tonight, chances are you already know that stuff. What we do want to do quick is give you a quick, who, what, where, when, why, kind of refresh everybody just in case we do have some new faces from the new cities. My name's Matty Fresh. I went to college at Penn State, made a few songs about football players. You probably only know one of them. It's called Trace McSorley. But I've been doing this show since 2023. We used to cover the XFL exclusively. I'm a day one DC Defenders diehard. That's a 2020 DeAndre Tompkins jersey hanging behind me, and I think the greatest moment of my life was watching my team win the championship in the UFL last year and score the most points in league history while doing it. TPG is my co-host. Go ahead and reintroduce yourself to the people.
I am the People's Gambler, also known as TPG, based out of Chicago. I'm in a new Chicago studio now this year. Very exciting stuff, but I have strong family ties in St. Louis, so I've been repping the Battlehawks ever since.
He's still the St. Louis scumbag. He's still the St. Louis scumbag. That is us. Now, what are we doing here, right? Well, first off, we're going to bring different players, different coaches on the show every week. If you've been with us from the beginning, You know, we've had guys like A.J. McCarron on a handful of times when he was QB1 in St. Louis. Now we'll get to hear from him as a head coach this year, which is amazing. But this year, we're starting off with a bang. Blake Williams, who was the best defensive coordinator in the spring game. That'll be coming up in a few minutes. Outside of that, what else are we going to do? Well, we're going to break down and pick all 43 UFL games on the calendar. Plenty of betting talk. We'll give you our winners. Last year, we absolutely body bagged the sports books, especially on player props. I also am going to do a Chris Berman style highlight video every week called Fastest 3 Minutes in the UFL. That'll be out for you every Monday morning. And we're introducing a new segment this year. TPG, go ahead and tell them about it.
Chat TPG. So basically every week this is kind of a throwback to season 1. Matt would do Matty's mailbag on the Monday episode, the recap episode from each week. So I'm bringing in Chat TPG. Submit your questions to me on Twitter, DM, reply, and we'll make sure to feature you on the show.
Kind of a full circle moment for you, because that's how you ended up on the show.
Exactly. That's a good way. Yes. That was kind of how I got my break on Springball Boulevard, was sending this clown questions.
So we're not going to have 15 panelists like some shows, but hey, you never know. Maybe there is room for a third on the Boulevard. Make sure you submit your questions. You might end up like TPG. But that's who we are. That's what we do. As far as where you can find us, just look at the description in the video. Everything's there. As far as the when goes, we're going to have an episode every Thursday, unless there's a Thursday night game. We have those in the UFL now. If there's a Thursday night game, we'll push it back to Wednesday night episode to make sure you guys get everything. And on Sundays, immediately after the last game goes final, hop on over to X with us at Matty Fresh TV for the new Springball Spaces. We're going to go live to recap all the games, let you guys sound off with all your takes. That should be a thrill. I'm sure absolutely nothing will go wrong.
Question for you quickly about that. Are we gonna rip the audio from Twitter and put it on a podcast form?
Yeah, that'll be in the description below as well.
Oh, yeah.
That'll
Nice.
be uploaded to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. And
I hate looking at my own face, dude.
You got a face for radio.
I'll be honest.
You got a face for
Yes,
radio.
I do have a
for
face
sure.
for radio, just like you.
The last question is, why are we here? Why are we here? It's as simple as this. To prove to you there is no such thing as football season. That's what we've been doing from day one. All right. That's enough of that nonsense.
Hell yeah.
Let's talk some ball, TPG. It's about time we get into the preseason championship odds for the UFL in 2026 via DraftKings. The Birmingham Stallions are the favorites at plus 340. DC right behind them at plus 360. You just love to see it. I mean, I thought I'd have to take DC's future at like plus 180 this year, coming off a championship with everybody back. What a steal. I'm getting at plus 360. Going on from there, you're getting the Dallas Renegades at 5-1. Orlando at plus 550. Columbus at 6-1. St. Louis at 7-1. Louisville at 14-1. And Houston in the cellar at 17-1. TPG, we've talked off the record. I already told you what I'm doing. DC plus 360. Listen, you got a league full of people that have never worked with each other. Some have never met each other before, trying to do all this, install new systems and verbiage and cultures, only 5 weeks to do it. The Defenders are the only team that doesn't have to. 33 players back and the entire coaching staff. Easy money. So my question to you is, are you eyeing up your Battlehawks at 7-1, a little farther down the board this year, or are you looking elsewhere?
Absolutely, I'm eyeing up my Battlehawks. I kind of like the position we're coming into this year. I feel like the last 2 years we've had this championship or bust narrative around the team. So I kind of like the fact that we're in the middle of the pack, expectations not too high, and I think the team is definitely going to exceed those expectations. I also have a couple more lines because, in a league this small, you kind of want to diversify yourself because half the league makes the playoffs. So the other one I want to point out is the Orlando Storm. We saw this line move drastically. It opened up at 22-1. Now it's at 550. I still think it's a great steal. You bringing back Anthony Beck, a guy that's coached in this league before, 22-10 record. Great in the regular season. Not quite there in the playoffs, but definitely could break through. And you know what? The Dallas Renegades wish they could have been 22-10 throughout the course of their history. So I like the Orlando Storm at 5.5-1. And one more that I think is kind of fun, a long shot. Louisville Kings. I don't know what you said it was at, but they opened up at 16-1. What are they at now, Matt? 12-1 or something?
14-1 I had.
14-1. I mean, I'm really excited to see this team. The fan base has been, absolutely amazing, showing out for some community events. And we just got word today that this home opener tomorrow night is going to be sold out. So I'm excited just because the fan turnout, they got some, very interesting offensive, explosive weapons that I'm excited to see. So, yeah, Louisville Kings at 12-1. Battlehawks, what would we say, 7-1? And then Storm at plus 550. I think you should get down on all those.
Listen, if there's anyone out there watching that got Orlando at 22-1, you are the sharp of all sharps. That is an insane opening price. Also, you said the Houston Renegades. They might end up being the Houston Renegades someday with the way the teams in the state of Texas has moved around and changed brands. You never know. That actually, you might have spoke that into existence. In fact, I think on last year's show, we had closing thoughts, and we said this could be the last game ever for the Houston Roughnecks. We were right. So they're on to the Gamblers now. All right, let's get straight into our playoff picks now while we're at it. Well, we'll go ahead and throw mine up on the screen. I think DC should have 7 or 8 wins, and that's good enough for me to get the 1 seed. We'll see if we actually get a home playoff game. I think we earned it last year, and no, I didn't forget that. Stallions are going to be the 2 seed to host the other playoff game. Hot take, I think Matt Corral wins MVP and A.J. McCarron wins Coach of the Year. And before everybody starts freaking out about that, I got 2 words for you. Nick Saban. It's that simple. They also dominated the draft. On paper, I have the Stallions number 1 in pass offense. I've got them number 3 in rush offense. So that says everything you need to know about the weapons they have. I've got Orlando at the 3 seed. I do like TPG's pick there at plus 550 to make some noise. I doubted Anthony Beck last year, and I said he wouldn't make the playoffs. I actually put my money on that too. I was way off. Plus, his son is now my QB1 at Penn State, and you never know.
Show some respect.
One day he might get his own song. So if things work out, I got to make sure. I'm civil there. And I'm going to back the Storm Surge into the playoffs. 4th spot was impossible for me for this 4 seed to pick. It was between St. Louis and Dallas. I lost sleep over it. Really didn't want to put the Battlehawks in the playoffs, but I'm going to trust that they have a good enough defense to sneak in. I have them 2nd in pass defense on paper and 3rd in rush defense. So I think that's good enough for me to get them in. From there, Defenders and Ponies in the title game, and it'll be the culmination of the Beer Snake back-to-back tour for America's team. That's right, Repole. America's team that lives in the nation's capital. The DC Defenders going back-to-back, hopefully in front of the home faithful at Audi Field. That's the rumor going around the grapevine, TPG.
I mean, I would love for the championship game to be at Audi. I've never been, and that would be a great venue to host it. Great opportunity for me to get out there and check out that used car lot. So my playoff picture, right? My playoff picture, I'm going with the Orlando Storm. They're going to wrap up that 1 seed. I could see them getting 7 or 8 wins this year. Like I said, Anthony Beck, he's been great in the regular season. Next, I got the St. Louis Battlehawks coming in, wrapping up a 2 seed, hosting another playoff game. We know that the Battle Dome is a very difficult place to play, especially for that opposing team coming in. Maybe it'll be a little bit different this year because it seems like we're going to have good crowd turnouts around the league. But, I mean, the Battle Dome's undefeated. So I like St. Louis to wrap up a 2 seed, possibly a 1, maybe. Who knows? Coming in at 3 and 4, I got the Birmingham Stallions and the DC Defenders. And if there's a team in the hunt, I teased this earlier, if there's a team in the hunt outside looking in that could possibly contend for that 3 and 4 spot, I'm going to say the Louisville Kings. I'm excited about this team. Really excited.
I feel like we were a lot more aligned last year. I don't think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I was very chalk. I was chalk as fuck last year. I took all the teams last year that made the playoffs from the year before. I didn't know San Antonio was going to fall on its face like that. Michigan, we kind of knew. Stallions, we knew. Battlehawks, we knew. But yeah, I would have never predicted that DC would have won it, especially with that news around this time last year with Shannon in and Barlow out.
Well, one more thing before we move on. I did get exact championship result last night. DC to beat Birmingham 14-1.
Yeah, shout out the score bet. Shout out. They have all these exactas.
Well, no free ads. No free ads yet.
Hey, no, sponsor us, please.
We're still negotiating.
Give me free play.
We're still negotiating. I'm taking a page out of Mike
Please,
Repole's book.
please
He's
give me
got me
some free
fired up.
play. I want some free play because
Read a
there
lot
are
of
some
books.
great odds with win totals. Will they make the playoffs? Will they not? Like you said, exactas, some good shit that you're not seeing anywhere else.
I'm still waiting on player props for week 1. That's where the money is made. But we just got depth charts right before we came in the air for a couple games. So, you got to wait for those. I want to do quick takes on rule changes quick. We got the 4-point field goals. We know there's no punting in plus territory unless it's inside of 2 minutes. 1 foot in for a catch, among others. I think you're going to love what our guest Blake Williams has to say about all that coming up shortly, so I'll kind of save the floor for him there. But I do love the changes. My only take on him, TPG, is that there's absolutely going to be situations this season where our buddy Dean Blandino is going to have to step in and make a ruling when someone tries to abuse these rules or use them in a way they're not intended, because nobody originally thinks of every situation when you implement something like this. But there's some smart coaches in this league, right? There's some dumb ones, but I think there's a lot more smart ones. And if I had to bet on anything, I would take the over on rules disputes. And I'm talking like rules disputes that spill over into the next week of practice because they're that serious, like after the game type of thing. Any takes from you on the changes quick?
I mean, I'm kind of an old man. I hate change.
You said I was pushing 30. Jeez.
I know. But I will say the funny thing I thought was when they released that rule book, when they were saying 1 foot in bounce, they said because of player safety, but then you have the Battlehawks playing 3 games in 11 days, so bullshit. If any league, the NFL, college football, UFL says player safety, bullshit. Second of all, I do really like the no punting in plus territory. I am a fan because I feel like that's going to only lead to more, 4-point field goal attempts, maybe some more kick 6 opportunities, right? That we saw last year with the Showboats. That was probably one of the top moments of the UFL year. But if you really want me to go more in depth on this, you can check out our Instagram at Springball Blvd. I did a whole video on this whenever the rules were released. So go check that out. And if you're not following it, you're really doing yourself a disservice, because I will guarantee this. Nobody posts better spring football content in the game than we do.
And he managed to go all of last year without getting canceled, so I signed him to a full-time contract. Can't believe I did that. Hopefully I don't regret it. As we mentioned before, we did get the chance to sit down with Blake Williams, UFL Champion defensive coordinator in D.C. Check it out. Well, folks, it's time to come get some, because we are joined by D.C. defensive coordinator Blake Williams. Blake, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Matty. Can't wait, man. I love your show and love what you do. Been in that world, in the podcast and sports show world, before, so know everything that goes into it, and really love the content you guys put out.
Absolutely. We appreciate the love, and obviously this one is long overdue. We're stoked to finally have you on, especially in this spot, heading into Audi West on Saturday for the beginning of the Beer Snake back-to-back tour. That's what we're calling it here on the Boulevard. It seems like just yesterday you were actually heading into St. Louis for your debut, calling the defense. Battlehawk fans, I think, remember that one. I think the only difference now, I guess, is Nelly's showing up to this game. I mean, I don't think he's playing, though. There's no Earl Meggett coming out of the backfield in this one. So, Coach, I want to start with last year you guys were the hunter. Now you're the hunted. What's it like being the defending champs during camp? Because I can imagine it's a lot of fun when you got 7 other teams full of players and coaches that want nothing more than to get out there and try to beat your ass.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to make it very, very clear. All right, we will never be the hunted. We will always be the hunter, and we will never change. All right, we will never change. Our players will never change. And so I can say it just cliche, but it's really, I mean, that last season's over, and we have enough as much as is made of the continuity that we have here staff wise and team wise, and we may have the most continuity probably in the league. But there's still a lot of turnover. We still have a lot of new players. We still have one new coach, you know what I mean? And so you still have that, and so last season was last season. This season is this season. And part of the reason that we ended up finishing where we were last year is because of that mentality and because of that mentality that our players have, right? And we're not changing. We never will change. This is a new hunt, but we will always be the predator and always be the hunter. And so, if people take their game up a notch, because we won a championship or whatnot, frankly, like shame on them. Frankly, shame on them.
Right.
That what you're telling us or what you're telling anybody, you're telling anybody as a competitor that you're picking and choosing your times when to take it, to the max. And we don't pick and choose our times. There's one way that we go. We talk all the time, that like we actually like even DC defenders, like our defense, our players will tell you, it's like we got two tempos, walk through and go, and that's it. Like we don't have, hey, this period, hey, let's rerun this play at 3/4 speed. Like that's when guys start getting hurt. That's when we got walk through and go, and that's it, right? And that's only the only mentality that we know.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of that defensive personnel headed into week 1 here. By my sort of unofficial count, about 7 or 8 returning starters from what it seems to work with. There are some tough losses. Obviously, Malik Fisher and Andre Mintz rushing the passer. Won't have them this year. But what I'm more worried about and what I kind of want to know, who kind of takes over that quarterback of the defense role with Anthony Hines off to Houston?
Yeah, and so it's a good question. It's a by committee, sort of situation, right? Obviously, in this league as well, too, you got so many microphones and so many different players' helmets, that and not even to get off topic, but that was a learning experience for me as well, too, where I wonder like how at times plays could get misconstrued on the field, and I'm realizing, okay, we got a game of telephone. I'm used to like I make the call to one person and one person is saying it out there, where if I make the call into 5 different helmets and one person's is shorting out and one person heard me in a noisy stadium think that I thought that he said this, and so it's like that's how you get those things. But our kind of starter, our frontline guys, 2 new guys, in Brandon Smith and Curtis Jacobs, and I think the league in general, and I think the fans of the DC Defenders are going to really, be surprised and like these two. They're NFL guys, they're NFL draft pick guys with big time athleticism. Brandon Smith was obviously the linebacker of the year at Penn State. And then they both played together there. So at one point in time, right, it's crazy to say, but at one point in time, the 3 linebackers at Penn State, like they didn't care what you were running. They stayed 4-3, and it was Micah Parsons in the middle, and then in Brandon Smith and Curtis Jacobs, outside, and those were their 3 linebackers, and 3, really athletic dudes. So that's who's going to be, the first in, so to say, our frontline starters, taking over those positions, and they are big, athletic. They can run, they can hit, they can cover, they can blitz, they can communicate. They've played in multiple NFL systems. Curtis has played in our system in the NFL, for a guy, that coached under me and us for a lot of years in the NFL. That's now a D coordinator in the NFL. So like he's already been through the system doing all those things, and so they were handpicked for a reason, and excited to see them cut it loose for us.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're telling everybody else this because I already know. I'm a Penn State alum, so I can tell everybody this is just the beginning of the linebacker U to DC pipeline. We got that locked in now with that regional allocation, and I'm telling you, nobody cranks out linebackers like my Nittany Lions. I might be a little biased, but yeah, everything you said about Jacobs and Smith is true. Cannot wait to see those guys. And, as we're kind of talking about personnel here and getting into some new players, something that's kind of been eating away at me, and for those who don't know, the UFL got rid of GMs and they went to centralized league scouting, which I'll never understand, but what do I know? Von Hutchins was so instrumental to the success of the organization, such a big part of the DC Defenders' identity from day one. How are you guys approaching life without him for the first time? And then is there anything, if anything, you can share about what went down there?
Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting, Vaughn. Again, we all control the controllables. That was one that frustrated and me, and when it came down. One, because my brother, Vaughn, like he's, it's like them saying, hey, Coach Shannon or any, the rest of us are gone. So one, love and respect the man. But two, just from a pure competitor standpoint, is Vaughn was a legitimate like force multiplier and competitive edge for us. And so, I mean, he was a GM, and just like there's with offensive play callers, defensive play callers, pass rushers, quarterbacks, there's a varying skill sets and whatnot, and we're all competing, and we all knew and felt that like he was the best GM in the league, and so it was a legitimate competitive advantage to us. And so now, when all of a sudden you go to a centralized approach, you kind of take away, so to say, a little bit of like the fact that okay, one guy may be better at relationships or one guy may be better at finding talent or whatnot than the other dude. And so that was a blow and love him, and respect what he was able to build here for us. And we understand the mantle of continuing that from a operational standpoint, really a majority, frankly, like really all of those responsibilities then got internalized in coaching staffs. So then that really comes down heavily to really all of our position coaches, but then really it comes down to like Coach Shannon, me, and Coach Kais, right? And so, being able to go get guys, that match our culture and then our system, our culture first and foremost of how we're going to be and how we are, and then our system, is the second most. And so we've been the ones, spending the fall and the winter and whatnot, doing that recruiting guys, to our mold and whatnot, which is therefore from a defensive standpoint, that's where you've seen a number of these NFL guys now come in here, right? Guys that I knew their position coach, guys that I knew from, one way or another, guys that have played in our system in the NFL, but that's how, Brandon Smith and Curtis Jacobs and a number of these guys, Gary and Connolly, who's been here before but coming back, Azizi Hearn, Gabe Taylor, who I've known since he was 5 years old, Casey Rogers, that's how all these guys have gotten there, so to say, as I've, picked up the phone and recruited them to come in, and they've been very well so far.
Yeah, it can be challenging when you lose a GM. If nobody thinks it is, just go ask Birmingham how it was last year without Zach Potter. When he left and moved on, they had some trouble delegating all those tasks, and it takes a lot more time, and you just lose somebody who does a lot of work. So hoping Vaughn's still around to support the guys. Hope to see him again sometime. Maybe get him out for a game at Audi Field. Put him in the beer snake section. Something. But
100%. Yeah, he
yeah,
still lives. Yeah, hopefully he'll still be around, this year, and we'll get a
yeah,
chance to see him. And who knows? I told him when it happened, this wouldn't be the last time, we worked together. I'd find a way if I was on the staff, I'd make him a position coach, because I know you can do that as well too. And he's
that's
so
right.
good, and he's played it. He's done it. He's played in the NFL, and then he's so good he's honestly one of the best relationship people and people like you gotta understand like there's a lot of various different backgrounds that you deal with when you're assembling a team and very people come from different backgrounds, different personalities, everything, and he's really good with people and really good with that sort of stuff, and so I wish him the best and miss him.
Absolutely. All right, shifting into the opponent now. It's kind of the new look St. Louis Battlehawks. Gone are the days of Anthony Becht and his regime where it was kind of like pound it 65% of the time and then, maybe throw it, try not to throw a pick when we do. It's going to look different now. It's AJ Smith. It's the run and shoot, which you saw plenty of, specifically back in 2024, playing the Brahmas twice when he was there. And I'm sure you've heard, like, UFL fans are really dying to see your defense against his offense. Why do you think that is? Like, what's special about the matchup?
Is AJ, and I know you got a relationship with, is AJ going to be on the Spring Boulevard on the show this week?
I'm sure he's watching. He's not going to be on this week, but I'm sure he's
Counting on
watching.
watching right now, with his little game theory and his little, chess master, over there. But I think that's part of it, I have a lot of respect for AJ. in what he does and how he does. We were talking about real recognizes real. And the funny thing, that you kind of think about it, and it's for anybody out there that's seen Tombstone before. Like I would sit there and talk about like in a funny standpoint because AJ and I have respect for each other and all that stuff. But it'd be like the scene in the in when Val Kilmer first meets Johnny Ringo, and they're speaking Latin back. He's like, there's something about him that reminds me of
Yeah.
me. Should I hate him? You don't even know him. It's like, no, I really, or educated man, no, I really hate him, sort of situation. But I always laugh. I think that. So I think that's part of it is, there's a level of the confidence bordering on arrogance and a level of, trying to put your players in the best, position to succeed and a level of, trying to be smart aggressive, like a Texas Hold'em player, so to say, and always attacking that is similar on both of our standpoints on how we try to get it done. And so I think that's what, probably why a lot of fans are excited to see it, and we're excited to see it as well too. What I mean? There's not going to be any back down on either side, and we wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, I think my biggest question mark heading into Saturday would be, like, did the Battle Hawks get the offense installed and game ready enough to play the fastest and probably the strongest defense in the league right out of the gate? Like, I know having Brandon Silvers, that helps, puts him ahead of the curve. He's familiar with the system, but, a lot of other guys that aren't familiar with that system. What can you guys take advantage of as far as your veteran leadership going up against a lot of guys on offense who are playing for the first time in this system?
Biggest thing we talk about is we got to play fast, right? We got to play fast and we got to attack, right? This isn't Silver's first rodeo. This isn't AJ's first rodeo, and a number of those guys, right? And so they're over there trying to create novel solutions to a problem, no different than we are. And we've got to attack, we've got to play fast, and we can't allow, a veteran quarterback, who thinks he can process and get the ball out quickly or thinks he knows what we're in pre-snap, or is using different tempos, different cadences, shifts, motions, whatever that may be, to slow us down. Our players know my answer will never be to slow down. Hey, just slow down a little bit. Hey, process a little bit more. No, we've got to, put our eyes in the right place and be focused and be disciplined, but then pull the trigger. And the answer a lot of times is just keep attacking, keep attacking, keep attacking. They may make a play, they may get a sort of situation. They've got to do it play after play after play after play, but we're not going to stop swinging. And so we've got to, again, like you said, play into that ability of ours to swarm and attack and play with immense speed, and let the chips fall where they may.
Absolutely. And moving on to some of the new rules now, I covered most of them on the show before we had you on, but I do want to know kind of how they will affect your game plan defensively. I think the no punting in plus territory, unless it's inside 2 minutes, of course, specifically focus on that. I imagine that could change third down a lot when it's like a third and medium or a third and long at midfield. Everybody knows you got 2 downs to get it. What's been in the conversation in the building concerning that?
Yeah, I mean, I think more of for anybody right now is probably situationally understanding from an offensive and special team standpoint. Like, what is your philosophy going to be defensively? You're still always playing defense, right? And so, I mean, yes, defensively, you've got to understand when and they may only come up once in a season, but when it's third and 15 on the minus 48 yard line, that like you won't let them, you know, run a draw or let them check it down, you know what I mean, sort of situation. Those plays that maybe you would typically do in an open field situation is now and they get 6 yards, but now it's fourth in, that situation is 4th and 9 and they're kicking a 63-yard field goal, right? Or they're going for it on 4th and 9, neither of which are high percentage plays, right? And then we've got to be as well though too for people who understand how to execute and do those things and understand that you can't punt, from the 49-yard line, but you can throw a hand punt, right? So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
somebody that's smart enough to understand. I don't care if we throw an interception on the 1 yard line. Throw the ball up. Maybe we get a pass interference and we get the ball. Spot foul or whatnot. Hey, they pick it off. That's the closest thing we can get to playing. A coffin corner. Kick. From that standpoint, right? And so you got to kind of be. Look at who you're defensively always like you play the situation, but then you've got to understand, who you're going against and if they've got some situational awareness or not, or situational, tells that can come in, but we're always attacking at the end of the day, but trying to be smart to the situation and understand the situation on defense.
Yeah, and they also banned the tush push. Does that make any difference? I don't remember seeing it too often last year, but does that make a difference to you at all?
It doesn't make a difference, to us. Really, we know like that's not the nature of this league, and I think that's, one of the cool things, about the league, is they want to be exciting, they want to score points, they want to do those sort of things, and they say that hey, right, wrong, or indifferent. I think there is this feeling out there of like, man, like whatever. It doesn't matter that Jalen Hurts is getting 15 rushing touchdowns a year, it's ugly, you know what I mean? I mean, optics is always gonna, I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent, like optics and are gonna and viewership is gonna override like quote unquote player safety. I mean, they could get injured on any play, sort of thing on throwing a play out. But the league is a spread wide open shotgun. You know what I mean? So to a degree, honestly, frankly, like even in the past years in the UFL where they've tried it, offenses, probably have as much chance of fumbling the ball because they
Yeah.
have to all of a sudden go under center and
Right.
maybe they're playing with a player that's never played under center in high school or college and hadn't played under it all season, all year long, and now they've got to go do it in this situation where everybody's playing for it and knocking the center back. Centers, some of these centers, let alone quarterbacks, aren't used to snapping under center, anymore. And so they're like, hey, is it a high probability play anyways in the UFL? So we really haven't seen it, a whole bunch. And so when it's a spread mobile quarterback league, so it really won't affect us very much.
Yeah, I think that one's more for the fans. It's like if this is something you've been getting sick of, here we're gonna make this big announcement, and it's cool because there are some people who are probably sick of seeing it that might give the league a chance just based on that, right? You never know what
Hey,
type of
don't
things.
don't
Yeah.
discount the NFL factor, right? Don't discount the NFL factor of like us being like conversations, behind the scenes, potentially of us being the gateway drug, so to say, of getting it banned, the test case of getting it, tossed out, in the NFL, just like we see the kicking rules eventually trickle in from our era, and just like I think we'll probably soon see maybe the 4th and 12 trickle into the NFL, where they're saying like it's 6% on these new rules. We're at 6% or less on onside kick recovery, and that's not what we want, for the excitement at the end of games. And so, don't discount, that they're using, people are thinking of us as a test case scenario on that.
Everybody's saying DC with the target on their back, only team with the head coach, OC, DC, and QB back. Coach, great to have you on. Hey, it's time to come get some, right? That's all it comes down to. I know Silvers and I know AJ are listening over there. St. Louis, DC, week 1. If that don't light your fire, your wood's wet. And listen, when we leave Blake with another win in Audi West, I'll be the first one singing, "Hey, must be the money."
I love it. I love it. Come get some, brother. I appreciate you having us on. It's going to be a battle, man. Everybody tune in at noon on ESPN this Saturday. It's going to be real.
That is Blake Williams, coach. Thanks for joining us. Good luck, and of course, shields up. TPG, a no-show for the interview this week.
Yeah, I got stuck at work, but I know you guys talked a lot of shit, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait till Saturday afternoon when Blake, Shannon, and yourself and the entire Defenders teams eats a mouthful of bird shit, joking about making jokes all summer. Audi West, Audi West. Dude, on Saturday afternoon after the game, the only thing that's going to be read is that ass after we whack the belt to it. I love my Battle Hawks. 40,000 Saint lunatics scream so good, so good, so good, so good, so good.
I like how you
And the
use
reason, no, I'm not done. And the reason why I'm pulling up these parallels between Penn State, because you guys have you're going into this football season with the same mindset. We're going to run it all back. We'll see how that works out. Bro over here made a song and thought they were going to be singing it at the championship parade, but turns out they were just singing it at the Pinstripe Bowl.
You managed to reference the one Matty Fresh song no one's going to know. Congratulations.
Well, maybe I'm just a fanboy then.
And I know
showed
he's
my
scared.
true colors.
Like,
Fuck.
everybody knows TPG sat in front of his mirror and rehearsed that whole thing. we know he's scared. He's been scared of this team. He's never gotten over his fear of the DC defenders. He's scared to come get some. He's been busy up there prole dancing. That's what we're calling it this year. He's prole dancing with Pretty Ricky. Prole dancing. That's what you've been doing. You prole dance. And Ricky Prole, who can't even make it to the St. Louis fan event. What a shame. He pulls a rock and he blames his plane. He can't even make it. He's the only head coach in the UFL who can't make it to his own fan event. What a shame.
Oh, brother.
What a shame. You hate to see it.
You do hate to see that shit.
Let's get right into it. Our game of the week. DC, the champs, back home. Yes, it's Audi West. TPG got the invite to this one from his ticket rep. His ticket rep, Nick Hand, reached out and he said, TPG, we'd like you to come out for the DC banner hanging ceremony at Audi West. But unfortunately, with him being scared, he declined. He did not want to be there.
Fuck you. Well, first off, yeah, this is a tough game because DC is going to bring in all the continuity, and we are definitely a new look Battlehawks team, and Ricky Prole needs to prove it. He really needs to prove it. But the thing that he can rely on is his coordinators. I think they had two of the best coordinators hires all offseason in AJ Smith, Corey Chamberlain. We know Brandon Silvers is going to be QB1, tossing the pill. Uncle Rico, love to see it. And I think we have the best wide receiver room in the league because the Battlehawks have Hakeem Butler and you do not. Also, we return Ja'Cour Pearson, Frank Darby, Blake Jackson, and then we got a newcomer, Justin Smith, who's also very familiar with that AJ Smith offense, so I'll love it. I did want to touch base on Kevin Latulis, but everyone's fucking talking about this guy. So all I'm going to say is he's going to go off. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it. Probably just Larson, but anyways.
I was going to say who.
Anyways.
I will say before you start throwing these players out there, Ricky Prole did say in his press conference that there's going to be some guys on the injury report that are going to leave fans a little disappointed or shocked. That was from Anthony Miller in his presser. Shout out Anthony for that.
And we still haven't gotten a depth chart, right?
No, that could be Hakeem Butler. I mean, we know it's very like likely that he's injured with the way he's been made of glass throughout his whole UFL career. And listen, I know I got fired up there. I got fired up there in the interview with Blake Williams and going back and forth with TPG. But in reality, I kind of hate this game being week one. It's like you wouldn't put Ohio State, Michigan week one. And I know DC's a 4.5 point home favorite here, and the over-under is 44.5. And, you think about it being week one, I guess my biggest question for you, TPG, is what song will Nelly play first? Is he going to bring out, "It Was Only Just a Dream"?
No, absolutely not. I hope Stoley told Nelly, do not sing that song.
He's going to say, "I think about it over and over again."
I think I might be too young to know Nelly songs. I'll admit it.
Are you young or are you old? You're going back and forth.
I'm a fake Saint Lunatic. Yeah, I'm an old soul, but I'm a young stallion.
I do have an actual question about the matchup for you.
Yeah.
I asked Blake this already. How far do you think the Battlehawks offense came the last 5 weeks in camp? Because you don't have sailors. Mm-hmm. You don't have the line anymore to, I think, be able to just play smash mouth.
Yeah.
And you know that nobody gets after the passer like DC. So how good do you think it's going to look right out of the gate?
I mean, last year I felt like the Battlehawks played some of their best ball early on. So if it's not a polished product week one, it is what it is. Obviously, I would love to beat DC, especially after the season ended. Like you mentioned, this O-line is a massive question mark. We only returned Mike Panasek. He's our center. All the other guards, tackles, they're all new. But I'm confident in our offensive line coach, Todd Washington, formerly the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line coach, when they had that really good season where they lost to the Chiefs in the playoffs. This guy was also the 13th person ever to win a Super Bowl as a player and a coach. So he's been around some high-level football. Hopefully he gets the guys ready to play week 1.
Yeah, I have the Battlehawk offense 3rd in passing and 7th in rushing to open the year, which is kind of night and day from last year. But when you got a former wide receiver as your head coach and you have an offensive coordinator like A.J. Smith who loves to sling it, I think the run rate is going to go down a lot from what it was last year with Anthony Beck, which could make for more exciting football in the Dome. And, you were pretty quick to remind me off the record that A.J. Smith did have a pretty solid run game when he was with the Brahmas in 24. Mm-hmm. I still think that had a lot to do with Wade Phillips wanting to run the ball. So I don't think the Battlehawks can protect Brandon Silvers. I think this line will be bad. You talk about Panashuk, he's the only one back. And we know Brandon Silvers is one tough son of a bitch, right? Like, he's going to get back up and keep going. Maybe A.J. Smith pulls a rabbit or two out of the hat, gets a big play to Butler to keep them in it. But, I have DC ranked number 1 in the league in pass defense coming in and number 2 in rush defense. This is the league's best defense. And they're going to be super aggressive. Yes, that can lead to busted coverages. We know that. You guys do have Butler. You got Peasy and Justin Smith, who AJ loves. Blake Jackson, another solid guy that all played in this offense, right? So, it'll be fun to watch that matchup. St. Louis receivers against the first-round NFL corners. 2 of them, DeAndre Baker and Gary and Conley. I think that's going to make it very difficult, TPG, for that offense.
I mean, you talk so much about our offensive line. Your offensive line's in the same situation. You're only
we
bringing
got some
back...
NFL guys, though.
All right. Peta, Travis Feeney, Carlos Davis on the inside, seek and fucking destroy.
You didn't
Jordan
do anything
Williams
last year. How many times did you sack Tamu last year with that same lineup? I mean, he got sacked less than anybody in the UFL.
Hey, it's a new line.
He's got the cleanest jersey in the league.
Keep talking about last year, dude. Keep living in the past.
Well, we know DC still has an elite passing game. And I talk about it again. The biggest thing was the protection. They protected JT so well. He took way fewer sacks than everyone else. If they can keep him upright, Ty Scott, Cornell Powell, Braylon Sanders, that's a ridiculous 3-receiver set to bring back. Yes, I'll admit, still some questions in the run game for DC. It took a while to get it going last year, but I think we found our guy. I think we found our bell cow with Deion Jackson. Yes, the offensive line has some gaps. There's going to be 3 new starters, but we know. Fastball Fred Keiss. Here he comes back, baby. He's going to have the thing rolling. Best play caller in the UFL. 58 points in a championship game. Freddie still got his fastball, baby. I got
some safe. You finish.
Coming in, TPG, I was just going to say, coming into this season, DC, I got them second in pass offense, only behind Birmingham. I was a little more moderate and gun shy on the rush offense. I think I have them 5th in the rush offense. But you talk about the offensive line, I think some of these guys like Jalen Duncan and some of the other NFL guys they got up front will be fine.
I got to ask you. So last year, Abram Smith returned from the ACL, did not really look like himself in XFL 2023. What are your expectations for him coming into this year? And do you think that him maybe being at a, more of 100% can help that run game that struggled so much last year?
Absolutely. Yeah, we know that this league, you need 2 running backs. You absolutely do. I think Jackson, it's more of a 60-40 than it is a 50-50. It might even be closer to 70-30 Jackson with the way he toted the rock last year down the stretch. But yeah, absolutely. I think Abram Smith would start on a lot of teams. So to have him in there as a guy who's been around now for 4 years, knows the system, that's going to be great. And I think the offensive line, if they come together, they can be okay. Now, we mentioned before, the Battlehawks have a tough defense. They're going to be hard to run the ball against. I got them third in rush defense coming in. I even have them higher in pass defense. I got them second in pass defense. I think the secondary's loaded. I'll give them their flowers. Talked about the defensive line already. But again, if DC can protect Jordan Ta'amu and they can limit turning the ball over, they should have the advantage here. Is it going to be sloppy out of the gate? Of course it is. Right? It's week one. All this talk about the continuity doesn't matter. It's probably going to look a little dry coming out of the gate.
Yeah, Chamberlain brought in his guys at DB. You know, you bring in A.J. Thomas. He was an all-UFL guy in 2024, former Chicago Bear. Then you got St. Louis native Daniel Isom. I'm real excited to see this guy. He had a big pick six back in XFL 2024 in that playoff game against Michigan. So I'm excited to see this new look Battlehawks. We've seen this line move a lot too in our favor. Now up to 4.5. I think it's definitely the sharp side to take Battlehawks at home underdogs to cover the spread. And I'm also going to sprinkle that money line as well.
Yeah, I think this game gives me major, like, Defenders Brahmas 2024 in the Alamo Dome season opener vibes. Remember that game?
Oh, yeah.
That game was an all-around circus. I mean, and DC ended up losing the game 27-12. There was fake punt. Was it a fake punt or a fake field goal touchdown that was thrown to a center? Just a bunch of nonsense in that game. So I am going to lay off. This game gives me bad vibes from a betting perspective. I don't see much value on the spread or the total. Obviously, I'm going DC, but let me make very clear here. The Defenders could lose this game. It will have zero impact on the season. The Defenders have not been a great team with a minus sign next to their name. Everybody knows that. But when they get a plus sign next to their name, they've become world beaters. If DC does take a close loss in this one, you move on, because I think Shannon Harris is going to be on a warpath then. Like, he's even going to be more fired up and more motivated to go back to back. I don't think the stakes have never been lower for DC. But on the flip side, they might never have been higher for St. Louis. Like, you're really going to let us come in and pants you in your building again. Like, can you imagine the complete disaster if DC comes in and lays one on you again? Like, this is a must win for Prohl. He's been in the series. He was on the Beck staff. He knows the rivalry. This is a must-win for the St. Louis Battlehawks, and the pressure is on, baby. The pressure is on.
Well, the fans better show up, because Repole's threatening to move us to the soccer stadium, so there's no better time to come out and support our Hawks. Let me see you there Saturday, early afternoon. Let's bring home this win and shut these Audi West motherfuckers up. I'm off the hinge. I'm sorry. I'm way too... Like, we need a bleep button or something. Repole's been putting out those videos that are uncensored and stuff, and I want to apologize. I'm sorry, Mrs. Freiler.
Love you, Mom. All right. As per tradition, on the Boulevard, we do have a bet on this one, right? We always do this.
Yeah,
I've won it every single time. You've seen TPG with the binky in his mouth, with the Tamu is my daddy shirt. You've seen him raw dog an Old Bay by the spoonful, dressed as a clown. So since he's down so bad, I let him come up with the terms here in week one. Tell him what you got.
So the bet is this. The loser on next week's show, next week's preview episode, is going to read a poem written by the winner. So if I lose, I read Matt's poem. I win, Matt reads my poem. And it could, who knows? Who knows what this could contain? We'll definitely have some fun with it. It'll definitely be comical and definitely embarrassing for the person that has to read it.
Wow, I'm disappointed. So let me get this straight. You're gonna play right into my strengths and let me write rhymes about you when DC wins? Like, you might be the dumbest person I know. TPG wants to rap battle me now. Like, can you do anything right? We went on too long about this game. We got to get into some other games.
Yeah.
Friday Night Lights is back. We're back on Friday night. I just hope they sprinkle something in Kurt Menefee's coffee this year to wake that bastard up. Come on, Kurt. We need some excitement on Friday Night Fox games. Take a hint from Joe Tess. He's electric. Anyway, Stallions, 4.5-point road favorites here. Total is 42.5. Forecast is saying 52 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds with gusts up to 20. TPG and I will both be on site at the Lynn Family Stadium as the Kings make their world premiere. Excited to get down there. I will not be flying first class like Louisville's own Jack Harlow. In fact, I think I'll be fortunate just to get through TSA tomorrow morning. But
yeah,
the UFL didn't get Jack Harlow, which is disappointing at halftime. We'll have to settle for Russell Dickerson here, TPG. I know you're a big redneck, so you're pumped for that.
No, dude, I'm not even that big of a country guy. So, I mean, I'm sure if I heard some of his music, it would ring a bell, but I couldn't name any. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I couldn't really name anything off the top of my head that he sings.
Well,
but you might be Matt. Why aren't you not opening for DC in a couple weeks? That's what I gotta ask.
Who said I'm not? Has that been set in stone yet? We don't know.
You and Wale collab?
Yeah.
You gonna be featured?
A couple of DMV guys chopping it up.
Would be
cool.
Into
this one, kind of in contrast, right, to DC and St. Louis, where we're going to see a battle of spring football vets. I'm kind of glad that these two, Louisville and Birmingham, are playing each other week one because they're both kind of in the same spot, right? From an identity standpoint, we don't really know yet. We have a guess what both these teams will look like. Birmingham obviously has the better roster on paper, but TPG, we're really going into this raw.
Yeah, we're pretty blind. Two first-time head coaches facing off, so on the surface, there's really no clear edge from a betting perspective. But there's no question this Birmingham offense is clearly stacked, right? They got guys like Matt Corral, Anthony McFarland. You said John Ross was injured, but they got also Dawood Davis.
I don't know if he's hurt. He's not in the depth chart.
He's not listed.
They didn't give us an injury report yet, but they have so many receivers. He was the odd man out, so it could be an injury.
Deion Kane, another guy that could cause some problems for the defense. But my main concern with this team, and we've talked about this before, is Siski really hasn't called plays a whole lot, right? Not saying he's not going to be a good offensive coordinator, but he's kind of in a similar situation to Ricky Prohl. You kind of have to prove it to me first in order for me to feel more confident about you. So I don't know if McCarron's going to be, have a big hand in the offensive play calling, but
he did in St. Louis. He did
even for him though, he's calling plays for the first time on the sideline. I don't know how different that is from calling plays on the field, but I feel like maybe if you're on the field, you have a better feel for what's going on. Anyways, enter Steve Logan, Louisville's offensive coordinator, and this guy's been around the block forever. Right? He's 40 plus years of coaching experience. He's been a head coach. He's been an offensive coordinator. He's coached in spring football before, NFL Europe. This guy brings a ton of experience to the table, and I'm really excited to see what he could do with these offensive weapons. Jason Bean, Benny Snell, Jaden Sheardon, Lucky Jackson, Jonathan Adams. Unfortunately, he's on IR. JP Payton. And there's one guy that I want to highlight because I saw a quote in Larson's article, and I did a little deep dive into this guy. And it seemed pretty interesting. So Zach Davidson, the tight end, he's 6'6", pretty tall guy. And fun fact about this guy, he was recruited. He played D2 football. He was recruited to be a punter, and then over time transitioned into a tight end and found his way to the league. And now he's in the UFL. 6'6" tight end. This is like Jordan Thomas type physique. So I'm real excited to see what this Louisville offense can do with all these weapons.
How do you go from a punter to a tight end? That's never one that I've seen.
Well, if you're 6'6", I wonder. This guy's definitely not Aussie off his name, but
no.
But Zach Davidson, maybe he gets in the end zone. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of going with that. I think they'll use him. They'll probably use some 13 personnel. Listen, Louisville's going to be a smash mouth team. I think they have the best running back in the league in Benny Snell, and I think the only thing that's going to keep Benny Snell from claiming the outright season rushing title is he's on a below average team that's going to be down in a ton of games because of their defense, and they're going to be having to throw it around a ton and not giving Snell the carries he deserves. But when you add in Jason Bean's mobility and his legs, I think they'll put up some serious rushing numbers. You mentioned Jonathan Adams. Losing him is tough. I only have them 6th in pass offense coming in. It's still a solid receiver core. You mentioned Lucky Jackson leading the way. What a star he was in D.C. Carter Bell, TPG, is going to be a guy you fall in love with. He's going to give you like Austin Prohl vibes.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think he's out of South Dakota State. I think you're going to like him in the slot. But yeah, kind of back to Benny Snell. I mean, Benny Snell, with like Louisville selling out and it being a passionate fan base, like Benny Snell being from Kentucky, winning a state championship there, like I think Benny Snell could end up having the highest jersey sales in the league if they're going to put jerseys out. Like that's a perfect situation for them. Birmingham defense, can they slow them down? I got them 4th in rush defense, so not bad. They got Tay Crowder. Chiava Tazzino is a pretty elite linebacking core there, but the D-line and the secondary have some question marks for me with Birmingham.
I wanted to mention, too, about Louisville's defense. Their defensive coordinator, Jamie Sharper. This is going to be the first time he's ever called defensive plays. He's had experience coaching spring football, formerly with the Defenders. What is it? Linebackers and special teams? That sound right?
I think so, yeah.
So even though this guy hasn't really called plays or been a defensive coordinator before, he's been a linebacker coach, he's got some experience, but he won Super Bowl 35 with the Ravens as a linebacker alongside Ray Lewis, arguably one of the best defenses ever. So this guy,
who else was on that team? Who else was on that team? Chris Redmond.
Else?
That's why.
Oh my gosh,
Chris Redmond was the backup quarterback on that team.
The Dilfer.
Yeah.
Jesus, I bet Redmond could have won that Super Bowl with the defense they had. Yeah. No shit. I don't really know much about.
You could have won that Super Bowl.
Hey, AJ Smith, I thought we said I was going to be QB3. You don't have a third quarterback on the roster. What happened to Michael Pratt? Michael Pratt dipped because he heard TPG was coming in to sling the pill.
They were saving a jersey for Nelly to come back as Earl Megan. Yeah.
But yeah, Louisville's got me excited. I'm going to take Louisville plus the points, and don't be surprised if this team wins this game outright. Like I said, I'm excited to see this fan base. I'm excited to see this atmosphere. And if we're going to, take a look at the total, I'm going to probably lean under. We got inclement weather, possible rain. I don't know about any wind, but, rain, slippery ball. I like the under in this game, especially with two coaches making their head coaching debut.
Rain should be clear by the afternoon with this being an 8 o'clock kick, but yeah, I don't know. I disagree there. I think Matt Corral, I said it before, he's my preseason MVP pick, and that's a lot to say for someone who's the president of the Jordan Tamu fan club. I've been high on Matt Corral since the day he came in to the UFL. I can never truly move on from how good he was at Ole Miss, and I think he had him rolling again in Birmingham last year before he got hurt. I think you pair Corral with the best running backs and the best receivers in the UFL. The numbers could just be insane here. And people forget Matt Corral himself can run. That's how he got himself hurt. And you look back at his Ole Miss tape, yeah, they ran a ton of RPO. Kiffin loved that stuff. He had over 600 rushing yards his senior year of college. But overall, I have this as the top pass offense in the league. And I think they're a great rushing offense too, have them at number 3. We already know about the depth at wide receiver. It's almost unfair. And then you throw Anthony McFarland into the mix, who, by the way, we just found out the other day, that's Booger's son.
How did we not know?
That was not on my bingo card. Maybe I'm just an idiot for not knowing that, but that's kind of hilarious.
That shit blew my brain.
And let me just make clear, like, everybody is hell-bent on talking about A.J. McCarron's inexperience and how, he only coached his son's Pop Warner flag football team. And Tyler Siskey, you mentioned, hasn't called plays since high school. You don't understand the bond that these two have. Tyler Siskey coached A.J. McCarron to the Alabama State Championship at St. Paul's. That's some Friday Night Lights type shit. Like, that is a loyalty that nobody has in the UFL. And they now have this chance to kind of live this, like, coaching fantasy together, and they're doing it in their home state. Like, I think it's absolutely going to work. And like I said before, to any doubters who are talking about them being inexperienced, they learned from Saban. What are you, crazy? Like, it's a winning culture. It's built on a dynasty. These guys lived it. They breathed it. Like, they know how to win. And I think Tyler Siskey is also a great podcaster. He might also be a better play caller. We'll see. I think you'll be shocked, TPG, at what these two can do to a Louisville defense, who I think is bad. I like Sharper. He's a good coordinator, but I don't recognize any of these names. I got him 8th in pass defense. I got them 8th in rush defense. This is the Showboats, the Brahmas, whatever you want to call it, all over again. Just going to give up a ton of points.
That's a fucking insult, dude. That is insulting.
Who do they have? It's all Showboats leftovers.
Hey, they got, I mean, the DB room. I wrote it down. You know, they bring Cam Dantzler from the Showboats. He was a great playmaker. Keaton Ellis, he's a great safety. I think we saw on the depth chart, though, Kenny Robinson and Bryce Hall, guys that, in my opinion, I think on paper should be starters. They're not. Obviously, they're getting outplayed. But I think this good defensive backroom can definitely neutralize this Birmingham passing attack with all of the weapons they have.
I am going to go Birmingham here, and I would never take an over for a week 1 game, but I do think the Stallions can score 3 or 4 touchdowns here. Again, just Louisville defense is going to be a liability, and if they get down early, they're going to have to start throwing it. They might start scoring points. Birmingham wins. Birmingham covers. McCarran era gets off to a strong start, and like I said, I'm gonna lean the over in this one. All right, ready for Texas Throwdown? We're gonna move on.
What would be an episode of Springball Boulevard if we agreed? Nobody wants to see that shit, right? So I'm happy that you're on one side, I'm on the other.
Right.
Shake up, best man win, best better win.
You might be the only person outside of the 14,000 Kings fans that are gonna be there that's on Louisville, but we'll have to see. All right, let's move on. Texas Throwdown is up next. Not gonna lie, this rivalry kind of lost its luster for me over the years, but maybe we can bring it back in the Repole era. It's Houston and Dallas. Renegades, a 5.5 point home favorite here. Total lowest of the week at 39.5. Does Vegas forget we have 4-point field goals now? Like, come on, 39.5. Probably still the under. Is the play here. The forecast is pristine, though. 70 and partly cloudy with a breeze, as these two will break in a new venue at Toyota Stadium. Oh, man, where to start with this one? I think I was going to be pretty high on Dallas. I told you that coming in. And then I started looking into everything. And it turns out I actually kind of soured on the Renegades a little bit. Maybe it's because I had to watch Rick Neuheisel in CBS's dumb little fucking box that they put up in the corner of the screen when he's cheering on his son. When
UCLA in the studio.
Yeah, when UCLA pantsed Penn State. I don't think that image will ever get out of my head. I was so sick of that. But I don't like the Renegades this year. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, Bob Stoops told Rick Neuheisel, "You could have my job, but you have to sign my son." Obviously, right? But I think the real surprise, the real headlining surprise out of this game is no Luis Perez. But as we saw in the depth,
no Luis Perez? Be clear there, because it's not no Luis Perez. He's or
Luis Perez. But
Neuheisel said they're starting Reed. Yeah,
Reed is going to take the first snaps. So, to be honest, if you're beating out Luis Perez in camp, I think that's an amazing thing, right? So this guy's got to be good. And Rick Neuheisel, even though I might not be very high on this team throughout the season, he was pretty impressive in the AAF with the Arizona Hotshots. He had a 5-3 record. He averaged 23.5 points per game. So that's pretty good. And then on the flip side, you have Kevin Sumlin, who I don't know why the hell they hired this guy. They must have been desperate. They must have been real desperate. He was the
money sign, baby. That's Johnny Football. Put some respect on his name now. Come on.
That was 10 plus years ago, bro. I was in middle school. Maybe someone's lost his fastball, but they give him the call to be the Houston Gamblers head coach. He was the Gamblers head coach back in 2022. And that team was very underwhelming, I thought, with a 3-7 record, only averaging about 19.5 points per game. Granted, they really struggled with quarterback play. I think their quarterback play is going to be a little bit better. But you bring in Eric Price as your OC, who's been just absolutely abysmal for the Roughnecks the past couple of years. They have him and Nolan Henderson have some familiarity, so maybe they can move the rock, but I'm not too confident in this Houston team at all. I have them as a bottom 2 team, in my opinion. And even with Austin Reed getting the start, I'm gonna lay the points with the Renegades.
I heard
the Renegades. I am taking the Renegades. What am I doing?
I read a tweet that this is like Mac Jones starting over Brock Purdy. Like, you just can't do it. Like, it's a recipe for disaster. Sure, maybe Austin Reed is, in fact, the better quarterback. You don't bench the franchise in week 1. And now he's saying he wants to play both. Like, Rick Neuheisel's going to be a problem. You know how I had the beef with Mike Nolan last year?
Yeah.
He went on to the championship. We crushed him.
I could see it.
He's going to be the problem. He's going to be the guy that cares more about putting guys in the NFL than he does about winning. And I get it. Like, when you spend most of your career in California, you probably get a little soft. In contrast, we got a Southern red-blooded Republican running for lieutenant governor like A.J. McCarron who might kill somebody if they don't win. So, yes.
Well, the Stallions do have to win it all this year so that they stay in Birmingham and don't get moved out to Boise.
True.
Shout out, Walt.
Boise Stallions. Yeah, that would have a little bit of a ring to it. But obviously, yeah, we know the priority is to get guys to the NFL. But you're the head coach of this team, Rick Neuheisel, and you just pissed off the only guy you can't afford to, and the season hasn't even started yet. Has anybody told Rick Neuheisel the story of how Luis Perez got there in the first place? Like, he's going to be demanding a trade soon if this doesn't work out for him. He could play. He could start in Houston. He could start somewhere else. So I just hate it. I hate the idea of a 2 QB system. Dallas takes a major hit in my power rankings because of that. I put him at 4th in pass offense just because I'm curious what Reed can do. But they're dead last in rushing offense, TPG. They were dismal running the ball last year. The backfield's not impressive. Yeah, the wide receiver core is a strength, right? We know about Vaughns. We know about Burnett. But again, those 2 guys have chemistry with Perez, not Reed.
Mm-hmm. True.
And we know that Houston defense might be able to get after it. I still think they're kind of a mid defense. They get a boost from 2 DC guys I love, Malik Fisher
absolutely.
And Anthony Hines. I think will turn things around there. And you have to remember, who's the defensive coordinator in Houston?
Is it the former Renegades
It is.
DC, right? I forget his name.
He knows the system. He knows Perez like the back of his hand. He knows
Marvin Sanders.
And I get it. The Bob Stoops, Chuck Long thing at the Renegades will be different now that it's Neuheisel and Mazzone. But if Perez does go in the second half of this game, Marvin Sanders knows how to stop Luis Perez. I wonder if that's why. I don't think it is.
That's a good point.
But I wonder if Neuheisel's playing chess and not checkers here, trying to keep them on their toes. But in that matchup, Renegade offense, Houston defense, I kind of lean to Houston defense here. Honestly, I think they can make some noise and get some stops.
You think? I looking at this Dallas D, they still got some playmakers. They got Willie Taylor, Taco Charlton, Donald Payne, Jane A. Harris, Quinterio Cole, who's a great safety for the battle.
It's a great defense.
They got guys too.
Yeah, and I think, like, you look at Houston offensively, you already said it before, like, they suffer from Eric Price. Like, that's, like, I've been out on this guy as a coordinator for years. I don't know how he continues to get a job when there's guys out there like Marcel Belfay, who was a stud for Michigan. Peyton Pardee could have came in and called plays here. So Kevin Sumlin, hell, he should have thrown a max contract to his boy Cliff Kingsbury, see if you can get him in the UFL from the Manziel days and see what works. But, yeah, I mean,
you should have got Manziel. He's not doing shit.
Nolan Henderson is maybe the next Johnny Manziel. You never know. If he works with Eric Price.
I like Henderson. I'm a fan, but
I was kind of disappointed to hear Hunter Deckers didn't get the start, just because I wanted to hear the broadcasters be forced to talk about his gambling scandal while he was quarterback of the Gamblers. I think that would have made for some excellent television there.
Well, Hunter Deckers DM'd me and said that we're gonna suck this year and to take the points with the Renegades. I'm joking. I'm not trying to get this guy in trouble.
Oh, man.
But I had to fit it in there somewhere.
Well, hey, we might see him, because if we know anything about Nolan Henderson, he runs around like a maniac. He gets himself hurt.
Yep.
You might see Deckers. They also got Talia Tagovailoa in there, too, his little brother. But, again, it's a dismal offense. I got him 7th in pass offense. I got him 6th in rush offense. Think they're in trouble. Of course, I kind of like the receivers, and then they traded Braylon Sanders back to D.C. Don't love that move for them. I still think they have a solid 3-receiver set with Justin Hall, Jontre Kirkland. And there's a new guy you want to keep your eye on this year, Jalen Moreno-Cropper. He was a stud at Fresno with Jake Haener slinging the ball to him.
Okay.
But we talked about it before. The Dallas defense, I don't know much about Gilhammer, but Gruden name-dropped him.
Yeah.
And said he was good friends with him. So that's probably a good sign, because he said my good friend Mike Gilhammer. So that's probably a good sign. Mike Gilhammer. Yeah.
Hammer.
Yeah.
Pause. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to find shit.
I'm high. I'm sky high on the defense. I have them third in pass defense and first in rush defense. I think it's the top rush defense in the league. Think about you mentioned them, like the pass rushers. You got Willie Taylor, you got Bauer, you got Taco Charlton. It's a solid unit on paper. We know Justin Hall is going to get his targets again, but it's probably because they're going to be down a lot. And I don't think they can beat. I don't think Houston can beat Dallas. I don't think Houston can win many games this season at all with this offense.
No, not at all. Gilhammer, I mean, he's got NFL experience.
Yeah.
He's probably been out of the game for a while, but I mean, I don't think you lose that once you go through it.
Since we like the defenses, are we leaning under here? That's kind of what I'm
leaning. Absolutely, especially with Reed starting. But
it's a low number, though. It's a low number.
It really came down if you were, and it sucks too because it's really tough to cap week 1, and if you're not on the cutting edge of placing these bets by Monday or Tuesday, the lines are beating you. So we saw this line come down under 40. I'd still take it. I'm not too ecstatic about what Houston's gonna display for us on Saturday.
Yeah, this might be first 1 to 15 for me.
I can see
honestly.
that. Maybe we get a 4-point field goal in this game.
Yeah, we could.
Maybe.
I mean, this just screams Mike Nolan to me when he wouldn't start Bryce Perkins.
Yeah.
Last year, and it was like, how long is it gonna take for Neuheisel to get his head out of his ass and put Perez back in if things don't go well? Or is he going to try to force this guy back to the NFL? I don't know, but I'm going with the Renegades in this one to squeak by. We'll see what Reed does. Let's round out the kickoff weekend here. We the best, baby. We the best music. DJ Khaled and Anthony Becht as the Orlando Storm. Jeez, TPG, settle down here. That's my quarterback's dad you're talking about.
Oh, my God. That's what you said.
It's the Aviators and the Storm. Storm are 1.5-point home favorites, total 42.5. Forecast in O-Town is 70 with 10-mile-an-hour winds gusting to 20. Man, this is the hardest game to project, I think, TPG.
You think?
I think so.
I look at this Orlando Storm team, and they're just the 2.0 Battlehawks to me. But I got to ask you, what's his name? Ethan Birch, the guy that does the inside training camp, whatever.
Yeah.
He was interviewing Beck the other day. Did you catch what Beck said? He said that this is the best quarterback room he's ever had on paper.
He's a used car salesman.
Which I thought was hilarious. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. But we don't know who it's going to be, right? Is it DTR? Is it Jake Plummer? I think both of them are solid options. Obviously, DTR, he had a great college career. I followed him very closely at UCLA. Exciting player, could do it both with his arm and his legs. Spent some time in the league, so we'll see. But I guess the big question mark around this offense is you got Mark Colombo. He's a first-time OC.
I think Thompson's calling plays, though.
He is? I
think so.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think Colin Thompson is calling plays, and Colombo's like the run game coordinator.
Okay. Yeah. But regardless, this was kind of the same thing with this Battlehawks last year. They enter Phil McGagan as the OC after, what was his name? I forget. That got signed to the...
Bruce.
How could you forget
Bruce? Bruce gave you some great memories. Come on.
I don't know. Bruce gets signed to the Lions to be like an offensive quality control guy. They bring in Phil McGagan. He leads the team to an 8-3 record. Very impressive stuff. And like I said before, Beck has proven that he is a winner. He's great at the in-game adjustments at halftime. He's great at the super challenges. He basically won a super challenge every game last year, and he knows how to build a winning culture and motivate his players. But on the flip side, Matt, I am not very confident in this Columbus Aviators team, especially with this Ted Ginn Jr. PR hire.
So Ginn Jr. is a PR hire, but McCarron's not? Is that what we're saying?
But we knew
Chris
McCarron,
Redmond.
We knew McCarron, well, Redmond, absolutely. But McCarron, we knew that he wanted to be a part of this league. He said in press conferences when he was playing, like, I want to be involved in this shit after I'm done playing. So that one wasn't as crazy. But this one, especially, I don't know. I feel like I'm just not too confident in this coaching staff, right? You bring in Todd Haley, who was a above or a below average USFL coach, really struggled with the Tampa Bay Bandits and the Memphis Showboats, going 4-6 and 5-5. Mind you, one of these years he had Jordan Tiamu, and he couldn't even average 20 points per game. I think that's not great. And then you bring Captain Mutterlin in at DC. This guy's only coached one season of high school football. And Matt, I really don't care that there's a ton of former Michigan Panthers on this team, because we saw last year, right, with the Brahmas, it was the same team, but without coaching, the whole bottom can fall out.
That's true. Yeah, there's something funny about a team called the Aviators that look way more promising on the ground than they do through the air. And ironically enough, with Ted Ginn Jr. being a big play wide receiver in his career, they don't really sign any proven wide receivers. I guess it's tough when you have all the Ohio State receivers that ever played football or in the NFL. So really nowhere to go. I think in the pass game, they're in trouble. Juice Wells should be the wide receiver one out of the slot, and McClendon has a little bit of chemistry with Kiki Chisholm from Houston. There's not much depth behind that unless some of these unknowns come out of nowhere. I don't think it really matters how much Todd Haley wants to develop Jalen McClendon or how much he wants to throw the ball, because Jalen McClendon's overrated. And Jalen McClendon's going to be lost without Justin Hall bailing him out. The only reason he succeeded, Jalen, in late 2025 is because teams didn't have film on him. He came out of nowhere. He never played as a college starter. He never played as a Springball starter. He was completely new, no room to game plan for him. Now they got half a season of film on him. I think he's in trouble, and I think Columbus might even go to their backup. I don't want to root against Jalen. He's got a great story. I just think he kind of shattered his ceiling already. He doesn't move the needle for me. Maybe working along Todd Haley, who did coach Big Ben, similar style of quarterback, could help, but I don't know. By the way, speaking of Todd Haley, since you brought him up, there's a hilarious Hard Knocks clip. Have you ever seen that with Todd Haley, Greg Williams, and Blake Williams all on the same Cleveland Browns staff? I think this was like 2018. And
this
they're all
was
just
when Blake Jackson was on there too, I think. Yeah.
Hugh Jackson was the head coach, and you got to look it up. It's from the Browns Hard Knocks. It's just hilarious. But yeah, I mean, to me, the tough part with Columbus is they're the number one rushing offense in the league for me. I think this is an elite backfield, but it's just bad. Number 8, I have it, pass offense. Tawa and Lovett and Zaquandre White will make some noise, and they're going to be running behind an offensive line that looks pretty strong, like you said, with the few Panthers leftovers. I think they're going to run it early and often, similar to Orlando, right? We know they're going to try to set up the run, but I don't know. To seem like Donnie Abraham on defense doesn't have too many of his former Battlehawks back. There's maybe only 2 or 3 of them on there, TPG.
I mean, I'm not too concerned about this, because I think in this game, you just got to look at the head coaches, right? You got a guy that is uber experienced, and then you got a guy that's making his first debut as a head coach. So,
well, can we talk about Becht for a second? Because I have some thoughts.
Yeah. Why not? Let's talk about your quarterback's.
That's right.
Dad.
That's right.
Let's talk about him.
Well, last year I was out on Becht. I thought because he lost his offensive coordinator, he was cooked. It didn't matter. They were still good. I don't know. It's you pair. His system seems to be like you pair a strong running game with a mobile quarterback and see what happens. But Jack Plummer's not mobile, so it would make more sense for DTR to start in this system, unless they think Plummer just has like a killer arm or something and a cannon on him. I don't know. Like, no more Hakeem the Dream to bail Anthony Becht out. Yes, they got 2 burners in the slot, though. KJ Hamler and Chris Rowland. I wish DC had one of them. Like, that's electric. They're straight playmakers.
I guess who do you think's going to step up on the outside then? Because they cut D. Anderson. Who's going to be that like XY receiver that makes, who like kind of plays that Hakeem Butler?
Probably Elijah Badger, but we don't know much about him. I don't know if you agree. DTR has to be the starter here. I know Becht is playing games in the media and they're posting Plummer on the promo graphics, but it just feels to me like ever since we heard from, sources that AJ McCarron was let go in St. Louis because Becht wanted a running quarterback, and then going with Wilkins and Duggan, from there, like, it makes me think DTR is probably going to get the start here. If you don't know, everybody talks about Jason Bean and how mobile he's going to be in this league. DTR is even better. DTR had better rushing stats in college, and he runs the same 40 time as Bean. So I would put money on DTR if he does start to lead all quarterbacks in rushing yards this
I could
year.
definitely see DTR having like an Adrian Martinez type year.
That's pushing it. That was historic. But I do think he can get to like a Max Duggan kind of year where Duggan ran it a ton. And you couple that with Jayshon Corbin. I mean, he led the UFL in rushing last year. This is the kind of pieces, right, that Anthony Beck wants for this offense. The difference is he got 4 complete unknowns up front. This is not the dominant Battlehawks line with Gonzalez and Panashuk and Jones Smith and Bushel Beatty and those guys in there. Like, it could be a little bit of a struggle. But I guess it comes down to, like, Columbus defensively. Like, what do we think? Captain Munnerlin, he knows a thing or two about DBs playing for the Panthers in the NFL, so they should have a good secondary. But I don't think there's going to be any stopping Orlando's run game here.
Absolutely not.
And I want to see the 2 other kids. Who is it? Stewart and Dotson in the backfield. We know Beck's always had good running backs. Like, remember when Sailors was RB3? Mm-hmm. And then Jarvion Howard was RB3? And then now Latulis is coming up. Like, these guys have broken out. And you're right, Latulis could break out this year. So I think Beck knows what he wants to do. And, he doesn't call plays. But I think both teams are going to pound it here. This is going to be like watching a Big Ten game. Do you think there's going to be like I don't think there's going to be many explosive pass plays in this one, TPG.
Maybe a long run. This is where we need the new rules to come in and provide some excitement.
Yeah, and I think, I'm leaning the under here. In fact, I'm probably going to take the under because I think both teams are going to struggle on offense. Probably get a heavy dose of the feature backs. But you want to roll right into it since I just pretty much gave my best bet?
Well, yeah, quick point. I mean, I haven't done this yet, but I feel great about all these unders week 1. I know these rule changes have made scoring more. I mean, that's what Repole wants. He wants more scoring, but we've seen time and time again in the spring football leagues that week 1, it's not a polished product. Yes, they did have an extra week of training camp, but a very lack of continuity, probably the most we've ever had since this thing started a couple of years ago. So I'm leaning under in all these games.
All right, with all that said,
we
say this every year. Disclaimer for week 1 best bets. Do not go Rocco Locco and start betting the swing set just yet.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I'd go maybe a quarter, maybe a half unit if you're feeling lucky in week 1. Just feel it out a little bit. We didn't get injury reports. Like, we don't know certain things yet. We'll see what kind of read we can get in week 2. But for now, I'll do like a half unit maybe. We'll take Birmingham -4.5. Yeah, I'm always hesitant on the road favorites. I just don't think Louisville's defense has a prayer here. And I'll take a stab at one of these unders. Aviators Storm. Let's play some Big Ten football there. Under 42.5. I was able to get that. TPG, what you got?
Listen, this is what you're going to do. You're going to pick up the phone. You're going to call your bookie and tell them you want to increase your credit line because a storm is brewing in Orlando Sunday night. And the Aviator planes are going to get caught in it. I love the Orlando Storm to make a statement week 1. Regardless of who's starting at quarterback, this is a smash spot. This is the most confident play I have for week 1. Orlando Storm.
By the way, I just thought of that. Whoever's calling this game, if Columbus offensively is struggling and they don't say a little bit of turbulence, they should lose their job. They should lose their job. That would be.
It's going to be Tess. Also, right. if you really got ahead of this, I got to bring this up too. So when these lines first dropped, they had it Aviators -7.5.
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. You could have got Storm at +270 on the money line. If there's anyone that got that, DM me your bet slip. I'll give you a shout out on the show because, I mean, these books were dead wrong out of the gates. I don't know what they were smoking, but
if there's anybody who got Orlando +7.5, you might need therapy. Like, it might be time to start asking questions. Why am I looking at UFL spreads in December?
In mid-February.
Yeah. All right, let's get into chat, TPG. I've been excited for this all night. What you got?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you want me to read the questions, or
Chat,
I thought you?
chat TPG. No,
I thought you were reading the questions. You're
I
gonna
don't
make.
even have them.
Dude, I'm dyslexic. I can't read like this. All right, Matt, you got to fill for a second because now I'm pulling up the questions. All right,
Hey,
here we
it'd
are.
be quicker
Here we
than me,
are.
Paul. I don't even have them up.
Here we are. Which one are we gonna go with first? All right,
Chat TPG. What's on
the
your
first
mind?
question? We're gonna go from a friend of the show, Cody Strickland, former Battlehawks fan. And he says, besides QB, why is there so much negativity about this Battlehawks roster?
Did you say former?
What did I say?
Did you say former Battlehawks fan?
No, current Battlehawks fan. Maybe I would have said that. He's not a DC fan.
We're off to a great start here in this segment.
Next week, you're reading the questions because now I'm thrown off.
answer
Anyways,
it.
besides QB, why is there so much negativity around the Battlehawks roster? And he thinks that the combination of our coordinators will be able to dissect opposing team, couple that with a nasty defense. I think this team can make a lot of noise. I think you're exactly right. Why is there so much negativity around the roster? I think simply because Beck's gone. Mike the repo man Repole poached our coach. So that's why. Cody had another question. He said, how confident do you guys feel in Tyler Siski being OC for the Birmingham Stallions? The last time he called plays was 2011 at the high school level. We already kind of touched on this earlier. I'm not saying he's going to be terrible, but he's kind of has to prove it to me first. Moving on. We got a question from friend of the show, Chris Tisdale. He asked, who's the best QB in the league and why is it JT? And what month will they place MVP bets solidify? Or what the fuck? And what month will he place as MVP solidified by the UFL season?
This is like when the AI tells you, like, "Hey, you're on a dumber model now because you ran out of points."
First of all, holy glaze, dude. JT is not gonna be the best quarterback in this league, and I'll tell you that now. I think from the pocket, it's going to be Brandon Silvers. I think he's going to lead the league in passing, especially with Perez maybe on the bench. Silvers, I'm expecting a big year out of him. And then for a guy that can maybe do it both ways, a dual threat guy, I'm going to go with Jason Bean. I'm excited to watch him play tomorrow night. That's going to be real exciting. I mean, yeah, he's an exciting guy. Jerry Curl Jason. All right, we got another one from Fernando Mick UFL. He says, what's the best hotel to stay at in Birmingham? I don't know. I've never been. Last question from our friend James Baker. You know, he's doing some great work in the spring football media scene. He asks, can ChatGPT give us our best caca? Caca!
That was not the best.
That wasn't. Maybe I'll give a better one. I'll give a better one after we beat that ass on Saturday afternoon. And that's ChatGPT week 1. ChatTPG week 1. DM me. Replied to I don't know. Maybe I'll just put out a tweet every week saying, "Hey, I'm looking for questions." But yeah, comment your questions and we'll feature you on the show. Thank you all for who participated this week, and it's gonna be a great segment. I look forward to it this year.
That was a train wreck.
How bad? That's why I told you. I texted you and I said you have to read the questions, like you did last week on the mock episode. You read me the question. Now you're telling me, oh, what is it? You just let me go. Now I'm stuttering. I'm trying to pull it up. Bullshit is what it is.
Just thinking about Blake Williams. That's all you're thinking about. All right. If you're in Louisville this weekend, we'll see you there. Orlando, Dallas, enjoy your new stadiums. Battlehawk fans, make sure you take plenty of pics of that DC banner hanging ceremony for me. Just try not to get smacked in the process. We will be on X Sunday night immediately after that game goes final. Come join us at Matty Fresh TV. We'll be giving you guys the mic for all your week 1 questions and concerns. Until then, for the St. Louis scumbag TPG, I'm Matty Fresh. You always remember, there is no such thing as football season.